Welcome back, families, to Greece. First week. We're back.
Yes, first week of full Greece. Our daughter
Full
was
Greece.
really excited about that.
Absolutely. So let's dive into it. This week is all about
The Odyssey.
the Odyssey. It's all about the Odyssey. As much of the Odyssey as you can cover.
That's right.
We have a whole Odyssey of Odysseys here. So let's start with it. The first thing. Now, you know this woman from a little unknown series of The Magic Treehouse.
I'm not like a huge Magic Treehouse fan because it's just it's not a
Mary-
read aloud book.
Mary Pope Osborne.
It's not meant to be a read aloud book. In its defense, it's meant for a kid to read it themselves, but we have tried to do it as read alouds because our daughter wasn't ready to read them yet, and it's been hard. So
I am personally not a Magic Treehouse fan.
yeah,
they're okay. They're good. I like the graphic novel. The graphic novels are pretty good. But I tell you what, Mary Pope fully redeemed herself with these books. I cannot tell you.
These are really good.
How happy I am to be reading these books.
So it's Tales from the Odyssey. There's a part one and part two. You're going to be reading them for the next few weeks. So we'll talk about this one a little later, but let's start with this one. I think what's really great is the writing style is super accessible. As you can see, not a whole lot of words per page. So this looks like a really thick book, but it's a very quick read. Both of our daughters, our 8-year-old and 4-year-old, loved this book. Yeah. So it was really fantastic.
Almost no pictures, and typically you're going to be reading 1 to 2, sometimes if they're really short, three little chapters a day.
Right.
As you're moving through the curriculum.
So this has 3 different books included. Yeah. So this is One-Eyed Giants, that's Polyphemus, The Land of the Dead, and Sirens and Sea Monsters. Yep. And that's the first bit that it covers.
Yep. And then obviously the other one is Calypso, and then The Return Home, and then
The Final Battle. So these are Disney Hyperion books. I think these are perfectly situated for this age. I really wouldn't miss these ones.
No, absolutely.
These ones you need to get.
They'd be worth buying, and I'll tell you why. If you are interested in reading the story but don't want to dive into, a translation that might be a little stuffy or whatnot, believe it or not, reading these things, you're going to get the whole story. They're super enjoyable, wonderful writing, as you said, spot on with the age group. But I have been enjoying reading them, just remembering back to like my 11th grade year in high school, reading the Odyssey and slogging through it. I'm like, man, I wish I would have had something like this younger, so that I could then, when I reread it, I would have appreciated it more. These are just absolutely tremendous. They are spot on, enjoyable. The pacing is wonderful. Doesn't skimp at all on Polyphemus eating characters and stuff like that. So where there is violence, there is violence. Where there is sadness, there is sadness. So she didn't skimp on any of it, but it's there, and it's really well done. I have been enjoying every single minute of it. We're near the end of it over there, and my daughter tonight was like, "Please, please, Daddy, keep reading." And I have not had a book series as much where she has requested me to keep going, begging me to keep going. Even though it's at the end. That's why I'm moving through it a little bit faster, because she's like, "Please, Daddy, just one more."
Yeah,
this is the first time I've seen. This is the first time I've seen that. And you're right. As I'm reading her, walking around the table, it's my thing. The little one is saying, "Daddy, this is great. I like this."
Yeah, and so the other good thing about this is it goes really quick. So your reading is like going to look like a lot, but don't fear.
These are worth buying.
So we have a couple other Odyssey adjacent things.
So step into reading. We've talked a lot about these step into reading books. So this one is about the Trojan horse. Obviously, Odysseus' great idea at the end of the Iliad to sneak attack the Trojans and build the Trojan horse, as they are all celebrating that the Greeks the Greeks have finally left. And it was a big sneak attack, and Odysseus and his men come pouring out and open up the gates, and the Greeks do about face and come back, and the 10-year war is finally over. So this book kind of covers that.
And this is a level 5, when they're ready to read normal chapter books kind of thing. So this isn't a super early reader, but these books are great because they're really cheap. You can usually get them on sale. They're usually like under $5. So I highly recommend this one.
It's great because it's a book that you can read to a first grader, but also if you have an older learner, like a 3rd or 4th grader who's coming along, this is something they can read to you or read and report back to you.
To themselves,
something that we try to make sure that we're taking some young kids, that obviously our target demographic, that 1st, 2nd grade level, We know we have some some of us have older learners that are coming along with us. In a couple of years, we're going to be in exactly that scenario where we have the first and second grader, and we have a fourth, fifth, sixth grader that needs to come along with us. And on top of that, adults are coming along with this journey too. And we're going to talk about some books that we can recommend there. But before we get to there, if you cannot get your hands on the Mary Pope version of this, you can get a graphic novel. Oh, actually,
I would say go with this one.
The Marsha Williams.
If you can get your hands on, really buy that chapter book. But if you've got a young one, especially, we talked about a Marsha Williams book on our last video. Yep. This is the Iliad and the Odyssey. These are great because they're all done like comics almost. Yep. So they're super. This is really cool visual.
because you're talking about the Odyssey, but the Odyssey is nothing without the Iliad. Because how did Odysseus spend 10 years? Why did it take 20 years to get home to Penelope? Well, the first 10 of it was him fighting the war in the Trojan War. And it's really, really cool to read kind of that summary of the Iliad and get that idea of what happened.
So one of the things we did with this is we actually read that summary and did the Trojan Horse book and then started the Tales from the Odyssey. So this is a really great way. And, if you have a learner too who wants something more visual and you're reading the chapter book, you can also just kind of have this open and they can get a visual idea of it. It's perfectly suited for this age group. It's got great illustrations, and so this is going to skip a few things, but really it's going to hit all the the big moments. And it's so visual and fun that we really like it. So
a great.
It's kind of nice to even pair them together. That's what we've done.
Absolutely, pair this with that, because you're right. Sometimes there's scenes where they want to see the things,
and this is a great way to give that Iliad primer without having to read a whole nother big book about it.
Exactly.
So kind of a good way to go. And then if you have an older learner, this is the Odyssey. It's a graphic novel by Gareth Hines. There's also the Iliad. There's both, but this is the only one I could get from the library right now. But it's got great illustrations.
Very nice.
So if you've got a late elementary school, like maybe a middle schooler who's doing in your house with you, this would be a great way to go because it's nice and long and in depth, but the illustrations are so good.
Yeah, they are.
We just wanted to show this one to you. This isn't one we've read to our daughter, but I did read through some of it and it was really good. But we want to give you this if you've got that older learner that you want to bring along.
Absolutely.
So it'd be really good.
And then when you got that older learner.
You have the 40-year-old learner.
You got the 40-year-old learner.
So this is a New York Times bestseller called Circe by Madeline Miller.
And you're doing this both in audiobook.
Yeah, I'm kind of alternating. I've got the book I'm reading and then I have my audiobook in the car so I can try to kind of double time it a little bit. But this is basically, so Circe, right, is the one who turns Odysseus's men into pigs. And that's part of the Odyssey story. So this is the kind of the story of her life from the time that she was young. And I'm like 75% of the way through. It has been really, really good. Not a book for kids. I mean, teens maybe, but there's a little bit of language in it. Nothing too graphic or anything, but there's a little bit of language. But it's been really neat because she's been bringing in other stories like Prometheus bringing man fire, Daedalus and Icarus and the Minotaur, and some of the different gods and things. And it has been really very interesting of kind of how she grew up, how she became the witch that she is, why she turned them into pigs, and it's all told first person. And I've really enjoyed the book. I think it's really great. So if you want to follow along and do something kind of Odyssey related as an adult, this would be a great book option for you.
Absolutely, yeah, very well received.
Yep.
Little bit of, look in the movie.
Yeah. As we're continuing to go with, things for adults.
This is for adults.
Right.
Helen of Troy.
Helen of Troy. This miniseries. I don't remember what year it was made, but yeah, it's not for kids because there's
definitely not for kids.
Yeah,
2003. So
yeah, there's some nudity and some other adult situations
some violence
and things and some violence. So not for kids. We've been watching this while we wrap presents and stuff. But it's actually been quite good.
It's been enjoyable. It's been
really, really good.
Yeah.
So while we didn't like the Odyssey movie we talked about last week, this one actually was quite good. So if you as an adult want to watch something and know more about what started the Trojan War, this was kind of a good option.
But they're asking, are we going to watch Troy?
I want to. I've actually never seen it. Yeah. So I really do want to. That was part of our idea, was we were going to watch Troy.
Brad Pitt as Achilles.
Yeah, I want to watch it. If we have time, then we will. Just note that this is a mini series, so it's got a couple of discs. So, know what you're getting into, that it's a little longer.
Yep. Moving on to some art that we have done this week. Obviously, from the curriculum, we're doing some art about geography. What is the climate? That was another thing that we talked a lot about this week. Referring to the islands and the climate. All throughout the book, they talk about the dry landscape, and then there's the meadows where the animals are raised. So really talking about how Greece is kind of this mixture of like dry, arid areas to these like really beautiful valleys that are, have enough rain and water and rivers, and then these dry islands, and then you have the mountains with the skiing. So a lot of geography here, really, really cool thing to kind of get into. Then also we had a rock painting box. You probably have all seen this. It's the $10 box of rocks that you have to buy.
Yeah, it's a rock painting like gift set or whatever.
And so we right about that time.
We got it from Grandma, maybe
something. Right about that time, we were talking about Polyphemus, and so I said, "Hey, this rocks are the shapes of eyes," and so we went ahead and did some painting of Polyphemus's eye. That he put out. The little one did not realize there was only one eye.
She did not understand the assignment.
She goes, "No, Daddy, there are two eyes." And I go, "Yeah, the Cyclops, he only has one eye. He had two eyes." I'm like, "Okay, fine. All right, fine." And then we did some rocks and hidden gold, jewels and treasures and whatnot. So it was really, really good. We had a great time. This took us like an hour and a half. Yeah. Great way to spend our $10 box of rocks.
So if you also get a $10 box of rocks, this is a great idea. So this really sums it up for us. We had a really good time studying the Odyssey, and it's something that, as you see, because you've got so many books, the chapter books, it's going to kind of
this week was a lot of reading, and remember, it's not just these books that we read. We're also doing the history quest. We're doing the activities there as well.
We've got all those other spines we talk about.
Spines that we dig into, and on top of that, we also have our nature study that we do, along with that, which we've already talked about in the previous episode. So these are just kind of the new things that we're doing on top of everything. I just wanted
to share with you all.
Absolutely. So we're going to continue on. Next week is Sparta. This is Sparta. We may be watching a movie.
Yeah, we're excited to move on.
Absolutely. See you guys next week.